So what I have here is a 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1. This is a real Mach 1. It is a numbers matching car with a 4-speed and a 302 2-barrel. Now this car is a barn find. It is not in show condition by any means. It's very presentable. You could take it to a cruise night, but I would not be taking this into any big events or really advertising this as a show car. It's a driver. It sat for a long time. It's got some bodywork popping here. It's got some paint chipping off the fender and the door. There's a rust spot that needs to be attended to on the other side of the rocker. The quarter panels definitely have some body filler in them, but it's optioned out nice. White with the black stripes and the black hood. It's got rear window louvers on it, which I am a personal fan of. I love window louvers because they're just cool. It's got a deck spoiler. All the graphics are intact. Dual exhaust, as you can imagine, for a 71 muscle car. The floors are actually in pretty good shape. The frame's in nice shape. A small spot where somebody had repaired the passenger rear floor pan. Aside from that, frame and floors are immaculate on this thing, which is a godsend because Mustangs rust. If there's any car that knows how to rust, it's a Mustang. And they didn't really have the strongest of chassis, at least not the first generation. So the less rust you have on one of these, the better it is to start with, even if it's just a little crusty in a rocker or on a quarter bottom, such as so. It has a pretty nice interior in it. I cleaned it up a little bit. It had a little mildew in it, but it wasn't bad. There's a headliner that thankfully wasn't chewed up by a mouse, as is the most common when you let stuff sit for years in a garage. Oh, no tack, just a clock. Car has, let's see, we've got, is that 84,000 miles, an 84,000 mile car. All the gauges work, radio works, heat works, no air conditioning, and we got our badass, I can get a better angle of that. That is a Hurst competition shifter with a badass Hurst T-handle on it. Really slam gears in this thing. So under here we have the Ford 302, which, if I'm correct, I believe this car, I believe the 302 2-barrel from the factory only made 210 horsepower. That is awful. That is absolutely terrible for a 71 Ford Mustang. Atrocious. But they put him in the car regardless. You could get it, and they built it. So we got power disc brakes, manual steering. There's no power steering pump in there. Manual steering. I have changed the oil and put fresh fluids in the car. I threw a used battery in it. The finest of used batteries. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, very bare in there. No AC, no power steering. Remnants of an aftermarket alarm system. I still have the remotes for that in the glove box, and there is also an old school that might be a Chapman hood lock. I have the keys for that as well. Not a bad looking car. All the trim is there. It's all in great shape. The grille looks pretty nice. I'm gonna take it out for a drive. We'll make sure we're in neutral. Seems good enough in the slot box. Clutch in. Now this doesn't have a clutch safety. This car will easily start without you having to push the clutch down. It's just good practice and good habit to just, you know, clutch in if you're going to start something like this. I've seen muscle cars take off on people that don't know what they're doing. I'm in and out. Work my way out of the parking lot. I can maneuver the manual steering. There we go. This thing shifts great. Goes through all of its gears nice. I'm not a Mustang person. I never really have been. I don't think I ever will be. But I do have a soft spot for the Mach 1s. really like the color combination. The 4-speed is nice. I love a 4-speed anything in an old muscle car. And though a lot of people don't like the manual steering, I don't really mind it. I think it's kind of cool. I think it adds to the experience. All right, so we're going to merge here. It doesn't sound too bad when you're getting up on it at wide open throttle. This exhaust on this car, it's an old school set of glass packs hooked up to like some 2 1/4 inch pipe. So it's very raspy, especially at idle, which I'm not a fan of. I kind of like more of like a deep like undertone. Once it's up and moving though, it doesn't sound too bad. Now, I'm going to clarify something. It's not very fast. Just being honest, it's not. This is not like some big 400 or 500 horsepower beast. It's not taking down a new GT. I don't even think it's going to take down a Mustang GT from like 05 or 06 with that 4.6 liter in it. But there's just something about it. You know, just the nostalgia of it. Just the feel you have of the road when you're driving something like this. I mean, you can feel the bumps, you can feel the cruise of the road through the steering wheel. The clutch is heavy, the shifter, you can feel the trans and all the mechanisms and all the shift rods moving when you shift it. The car just feels like metal flexing. It's kind of cool. Very hard to describe, but it's very cool. It's a feeling you don't get in the modern cars. Very limited electronics in this car too. We have an AM/FM radio, a heater. That's about it. Manual steerings, manual locks, manual now power brakes. I believe this is a manual clutch too. I don't think there's any hydraulic assist on this clutch. It's pretty damn heavy. Now aside from possibly a mild cam, this is pretty much a stock 302 in this car. When I say it's not fast, they made like 200 horsepower from the factory, and that's generous. It probably made less. Something funny I've just noticed, there's a clock down here by the shifter. It also has a clock up here where the tach should go. So either somebody swapped out the tachometer and threw a clock in there, or Ford actually just did that, which I'd be kind of surprised about. That's kind of funny. Now, even though this car is not as fast as some of the muscle cars built today, I consider this more of a real muscle car than a late model Challenger or a late model Mustang made today. Why? Multiple reasons. The lack of electronics, the tunability on it. You know, you actually, this is a very masculine car through and through. Manual steering, all the manual stuff in it, you have to know what you're doing to drive it, and you really gotta like put some force into it sometimes. You have to understand it. You can't, it's one of those cars you can't just throw anybody in it. Or a lot of people go out and they brag like, oh, this car's got launch control. It does a 10-second pass out of the factory. Well, good for you. You did nothing to achieve that but pay for it. Sorry, that's just the way it is. If that's your thing, great. Nothing against you for it, but I do find a big difference between modern day muscle cars and the old school muscle cars. Just saying. I'm gonna roll this thing back before it runs out of fuel. And I'm not much of a Ford guy, but I will say I do love this Mach 1.